Hey guys, it's the Plant Doctor. What I want to talk to you about today is fiddle leaf fig, how to care for them, what not to do to them, and hopefully that will give you a better opportunity to have success with your fiddle leaf. I've had a fiddle leaf for several years, and I want to share with you 8 simple steps that you can follow that will help you have success with the fiddle leaf that you have in your house. First thing I want to talk about is watering. So when we water fiddle leaf fig, what you want to be looking for is this. You want to water in a fashion where you're putting a significant amount of water on it. Water the top slowly. Make sure you're covering the entire pot. And water until you start to see water come out of the weep holes in the bottom of your pot. Once you start to see that, don't water anymore. And then what you want to do is wait. You can water these too much. You want the soil to almost completely dry out before you water again. So what you want to do is do a basic test with your finger. So you can take your finger and like your index finger, for example, stick it down into the soil, and you want it to be completely dried out before you water again. So if you water too much, what you're going to do is start seeing some signs on the leaf that's been watered too much. There's something called edema, and so edema is when you start to see red spots on the back of your fiddle leaf fig, and that's a sign that you're watering too much. If you continue to water too much, you'll start to see those leaves turn brown and black, and we want to avoid that. So make sure that you water thoroughly, wait a significant amount of time, use the finger test, make sure that soil's completely dried out, and then repeat that watering process. For my fiddle leaf fig in a big pot, I'm going to water that about once every 2 weeks. The next thing I want to talk to you about is lighting conditions. You want bright, indirect light. If you can get some bright, indirect light on your fiddle leaf fig for about 6 hours a day, you're doing pretty good. So the fiddle leaf fig that I have in the bedroom, it is a south-facing window, and it does very well there. So if you have a south-facing window, your fiddle leaf fig will do very well in that setting. Not to say that you can't put it in a north-facing window. It will survive there, but you're not going to get as much growth and development out of it as you would if it was in a south-facing window. One thing that I want to point out, just like all plants, fiddle leaf figs are phototropic. What that means is they have a tendency to grow towards light. So if the light is coming from a window, that plant will start to bend towards the light. So what you want to do about every 30 to 45 days is rotate your plant 90 degrees. And then another 45 or so, 30 days, somewhere in there, rotate it another 90 degrees. That is going to keep your plant from having that bent look growing towards the light. If you constantly are rotating it 3, 4, 5 times a year, you can avoid that plant's tendency to grow towards the light and have a bent look to it. The next thing I want to talk about is humidity levels. Where I'm at, I live in the South, I live in Alabama. This isn't a big deal. But if you're living in an area like Colorado, Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, or if you're watching this in another country and you live in a very dry, arid environment, humidity can be an issue with fiddle leaf figs. You want to keep your humidity between like 40 and 60%. Where I'm at, that's easy to do. Most of the time we're fighting too much humidity where I'm at. But if you're in a more arid environment, you can always add a humidifier in the room where your fiddle leaf fig is, because they are a tropical plant. Their native environment is warm, moist, humid environment. So you want to give that plant some of that humidity that it's used to. So keep that in mind if you live in an arid environment. The next thing I want to talk about is fertilizers. Use a fertilizer that has a 3 to 2 to 1 ratio of N, P, and K, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So for example, a 3-2-1 ratio. So on a fertilizer bag, the first number, there's 3 numbers there. It's a number and a dash, a number, a dash, and a number. The first number there is nitrogen. So the second number is phosphorus, and the third number is potassium. So 3-2-1 ratio of those components. So you could do like a 30-20-10. That would be a 3-2-1 ratio. It would be 30% nitrogen, 20% phosphorus, and 10% potassium. You only want to add that fertilizer while the plant is actively growing. How do you know that your fiddle leaf fig is actively growing? Look along the trunk and you'll start to see some bud swell, and then you'll start to see some leaves emerge from those buds. That is the time that you want to fertilize your tree. I would encourage you to use a prill and not a liquid fertilizer. Use a solid fertilizer and just use like a tablespoon, sprinkle it evenly across the top of your potting mix, and that will be more than enough. So when you water, that'll take those nutrients from those prills down through your potting mix, and the roots will be able to absorb those. Another thing that I want to talk about is air circulation. So it's important that you have air circulation around your fiddle leaf fig. You don't want this air to be stagnant. That can lead to things like bacteria and fungus growth on the leaf of the plant. So what we're wanting to do here is encourage a little bit of air circulation. If you have a fan in the room, like a ceiling fan, for example, run that fan every so often where both of my fiddle leaves are in the house. They're sitting about 2 or 3 feet away from the air vents, so the heat and air vents that are in the floor. And that's more than enough air circulation. So that kicks on several times a day. It's blowing some air in and around that fiddle leaf fig, and that will be more than sufficient for your air circulation. Considering this is an indoor plant, occasionally we need to clean the leaves. So also when you clean the leaves, you want to inspect it for some things. You want to inspect it for insects. You want to inspect it for scale. Fiddle leaf figs can get scale. So scale will look like these little tiny white cotton balls that are up and down the leaf or up and down the stem of the plant. Inspect that for inspect your fiddle leaf figs for scale, and then while you're looking for that, have a cloth, like a damp cloth, and just wipe the dust off of the leaves. You don't have to do this very often. Perhaps a good suggestion would be every time you rotate your fiddle leaf fig, also dust off those leaves, okay? If you get a lot of dust on your leaves, what that's going to do is going to decrease the amount of photosynthesis that can take place in that leaf, and we want to encourage that photosynthesis to take place so we can get more growth. Another suggestion, this is my last suggestion, once you find that good window or that good light source for your fiddle leaf fig, don't move it around. They can get finicky. I noticed this with my fiddle leaf fig. I had it in one location, moved it to another, and the edges of the leaves started to burn a little bit. You might see that in the video there. Once you have it where it's happy, don't move it, okay? Keep it there and it'll make you happy as well. So if you can follow those 8 or 9 steps that I just went over, I promise you that your success with your fiddle leaf fig will be enhanced. Guys, thanks for watching The Plant Doctor. As always, we appreciate the thumbs up. We appreciate you hitting that sub button. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't have new Rode mics. We wouldn't have new gimbals. Everything we're making right now on the YouTube channel is going back into the channel. We're investing in the channel right now. So thank you for that. And until next time, this is The Plant Doctor.